Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. I am Kellen Brauer, joined by Phillips, and what a wild opening weekend of WSX in Argentina that we just saw. Of course, Lewis was down there on site in South America, so we'll pick his brain on thoughts for that. But pretty interesting week for the moto scene right now. We got WSX wrapping up round 1, round 2 coming this weekend, Paris Supercross coming up. All these announcements are starting to settle in. There's still more announcements to come. Moto is still kind of hot in the streets mid-November, which kind of feels a little bit weird for what normally is right in the middle of the off-season, but it's kind of cool to see. So first off, Big Lou, how are you? How was the flight back from Argentina? Any jet lag?
First of all, I should apologize to everyone. I look like absolute shit, more so than normal, because I didn't sleep last night. I was on a red eye. It was a very emotional experience trying to get sleep, but nonetheless, we're here. Landed or got home 4 hours ago. Here, trying my best to give a podcast to the people. And I have a lot to say. So,
I was going to say, I know how much you absolutely despise red eyes as well. So that you must just this is rising to the occasion to even be here.
Red eye there and red eye back.
Why did you red eye there?
For some reason, the only flights to and from Argentina from America are red eyes, and I don't know why that would be.
Well, how long is the flight for those?
10 hours.
Damn. Okay, yeah. And you went straight Tampa, or did you have to lay over somewhere?
Tampa to Atlanta for Delta purposes.
Atlanta. Okay. Because I watched the Deegan vlog, and they said they went to Miami.
Yeah, everyone.
And then down.
All of the star lot went Tallahassee, Miami, Buenos Aires. I had to quad lock Honda lot on my flight. They all went Tallahassee, Atlanta, Buenos Aires.
That's cool, though. I mean, like a bit of the traveling nature. Like we're used to seeing these guys on all of our flights going back to Florida or California or whatever, but it's funny that even when we go international, you guys somehow still end up on the same flights.
Well, I can get into that I can do a whole topic on that, because this did act as a bit of a reminder for me, a bit of a nostalgic feel to the MXGP days, and I think that there's something to be said about spicing things up once in a while with a bit of different travel, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have always been used to global travel, so I guess it's back to the norm a little bit for you to do this.
Obviously, I've been to Buenos Aires 5 times, 6 times. Not so much stopping in the city. Normally, to get to the GP, you would just land in Buenos Aires, get a taxi across the city to the other airport, and then fly down to Bariloche. So I've seen all of Buenos Aires. I've never stopped there. But for that reason, when I landed, I knew exactly where I was going. I was like, oh, there's that restaurant, blah, blah, blah. And it did hit me a little bit in the nostalgic feels, you know? And it was nice to... You do the American races, and you land, and you go to Target every time. And you know that in Target, you can get this, this, and this. And you know it's so automatic. It was quite nice. Admittedly, not nice because it was quite difficult, but it was also quite nice to be like, I don't know where to go for food or where to get supplies from. Let me figure this out. You know? Like, this is going to sound absolutely ridiculous. I really wanted a white monster. And I didn't know where to go. So one night, I was walking around for 45 minutes in the downtown Buenos Aires, going from shop to shop to shop, trying to find a store that would sell a white monster. And although that sounds absolutely ridiculous, I quite enjoyed the adventure of it all. And it sounds absolutely ridiculous that I've based this adventure around a white monster when there was a race going on. But we know what is important to me in life. We all do.
You know, if only you knew somebody that happened to be sponsored by Monster Energy that may have looked like James Stewart in the 250 class this weekend that could have just maybe helped you get a white monster.
Well,
I feel like that's a connection you have.
There's also Chase now. And also, Monster said to me at the Nations, what are you doing? You have all of our email addresses. Just email us and we'll send you Monster. And I'm like, but I don't feel comfortable with that. So I just buy it. I support the sport.
But they gave you the green light. You don't need to be walking aimlessly around Buenos Aires looking for one white monster.
So I found one store then they didn't accept card. So then the adventure was back on. It was a real highs and lows, peaks and troughs story. Could make a documentary out of it, to be honest. And then they say that Buenos Aires isn't the safest city at night. So I was really putting my life at risk for this white monster.
Clearly. But I mean, it means a lot to you.
Fortune favors the brave.
It does. I was actually going to ask you, I know that your palate is rather bland, let's say, for food. When you do travel internationally, what?
That's incorrect.
It's incorrect. Oh, so when we go out to eat, you never buy a plain cheeseburger with nothing on it?
My palate is not bland. I love spice. And that is not the correct terminology. It's not bland. It's simple. I will accept simple.
Okay, simple. But when you do travel internationally, as you said, a lot of the normal things that you are used to, especially now in the U.S., are not available to you. So what do you do for food when you go to Buenos Aires?
Well, I went to McDonald's.
Of course.
And other than McDonald's, when it was a quick little trip, it's Argentina, so steakhouse. Like, it's literally just a wall-to-wall steakhouse. I ticked a box. So, Buenos Aires Airport, EZE, there's a Marriott 2 minutes from the airport, and next to it is a steakhouse. And in the MXGP days, everyone would say that steakhouse is amazing. And I never went because I never stayed in Buenos Aires. I was always immediately through to the other airport, AEP. This time, I went to the steakhouse, and I was so proud of myself for finally ticking that box against all odds. And it was okay.
And it was okay. So the review is not glittering, as other people have said.
No, but again, okay, so we get into this. There is something to be said. Like, I'm in this restaurant on Sunday with Max, and 5 or 6 people are coming up to the table and going, Supercross, Ansty, and then like taking photos with him, which, so there is something to be said for the global demand and the fact that these guys are superstars. And we'll get into it, but there are examples of that. For instance, even, and I said this to someone because I feel like it's quite poignant. I took 11 to 12 photos at the race, which isn't much compared to the American races. But to me, that confirmed that these aren't fans who know who Deegan is and nothing else. They are invested in the sport on a deeper level, so they do deserve this sort of event. I thought, because I think a lot of people would maybe look at it and go, yeah, the fans probably knew Deegan and Roxon and fuck the rest. But it wasn't that. They are, one fan said he only went to the event to meet me and not Deegs, which is a really valuable moment. And now I think I need start money for every single WSX event.
I think you should go to them with that. But yes, so let's get into this. Before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Leatt. And Leatt protection is in our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive product offering of protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. Be sure to visit Leatt.com to check out their 6.5 neck brace and all of their 2026 line of gear as well. All right, so let's get into the aesthetics of Buenos Aires round 1 of the World Supercross Championship. Yes, from an outsider's perspective, it's a pop-up Supercross. The grandstands were not as grand as maybe you would expect for a World Supercross event. But outside of that, I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like everything was pretty well put together. The way that the event was ran, the way that the pits were set up, the way that the mayor of Buenos Aires got involved somehow with the festivities on Friday or whatever.
I didn't know
maybe
this.
It was Thursday. Yeah, he when they did that whole thing in the middle of the city where they had all the bikes and the guys in gear and stuff like that. The actual mayor of the city came down and met them all and said hi and hung out a little bit. So, as you said, the global reach of what these guys can do is much bigger than maybe sometimes we give it credit for. And I feel like that right there is even a little bit of proof of it, where we're going to all these cities across the U.S. and we would never probably have a mayor of a city come down and do this, but Buenos Aires is one of the biggest cities in South America, and the mayor of that city still cares enough to come down and be a part of this. So just from your perspective, tell us some of the things that you saw that maybe other people wouldn't have even noticed were big about this event.
Well, first of all, I want to preface this with 2 items. One, this was a win for WSX. It was the best WSX race without doubt some people were like, well, Melbourne, but you know what? I don't count Melbourne. And you know what? I don't even feel like the WSX races in Melbourne were that good. So that is 100% accurate, I do believe. But it was set up to be a success. There was no way this was going to fail. You look at the beach races that happen in Argentina, you look at the MXGP rounds, you look at Brazilian arena cross. South America come out in droves to support off-road motorsport of any kind. So to try and consider a world where WSX with Roczen and Deegan was going to fail is unfathomable. And if they had failed, I would argue it would have been their biggest black mark and would have been a real breaking point for the series. Even, again, the MXGP at Villa La Angostura is in the arse end of nowhere comparatively to Buenos Aires, but they had tens of thousands of fans on Thursday and Friday, and then, I've never seen a South American, or more specifically Argentine, off-road event that's failed. So, and I had to keep reminding myself of this because I kept looking around and going, this is massive for WSX, just look at it. But then in the same breath, it's like, well, actually, is this WSX or is this just the sport? So there is that, but then also that's WSX's business model. If I'm them, I'm going, let's lean into South America quite heavily. I think that's quite an obvious win and obvious market for them.
Yeah. I have two questions to start off with. First of which, you mentioned the Deegan Roczen thing and how that's like it's set up to be a success down there. But also underrated in all this is how much fanfare there was behind Enzo Lopes, who's obviously from Brazil, close proximity to Argentina. It sounds like the audience or the crowd there was pretty into things that he was doing on the racetrack, similar to what Deegan, when he was coming through the field, the crowd was also getting loud. So it's important to have that kind of local flavor too, right?
Yeah, but I'll go against that, and even Enzo agreed with me. I expected there to be more fanfare for him. In the last main event, when he passed into second, one grandstand was really loud, but apart from that moment, I can't really recall a time where I was like, wow, they're loving Enzo. And I said this to Enzo in my post-race interview, and he actually agreed and said he expected a little bit more, but then, as he put it, in Brazil, not only is he at home, but it's him against Dean, and like he's kind of the great hope. Whereas here, he's almost just another foreigner next to Deegan, next to Roczen, and whatever else. So I did actually really think that there would be more Lopes, interest. And I even thought about LVK last week, because remember when we were joking about the stands, how they had a Deegan stand?
Yeah.
Randomly, it dawned on me they didn't have a Lopes stand. And I was like, that's weird. But maybe not so weird after all. But you would think that a Lopes stand would be the place to be.
I mean, I guess if it was in Brazil, there would be. But I mean, I guess the way that they audio mix things, I don't know. It sounded like there was a lot of cheering for Enzo when things would happen. But maybe it's just they had a microphone on that one loud grandstand or something.
No, to be honest, they just cheered for anyone and anything. Like any pass, they just went. Like it was kind of a...
But specifically Deegan, especially in the first race when he came from like almost last to fourth, there was a lot. You could hear it. Like it was coming through the audio quite a bit. So
yeah, without doubt. But then also, was anything else happening in that race to compare it against? I don't know. So like, it was not like there was a moment where Roczen was coming through the field and it was comparatively quiet. Honestly, and I was going to put this in my article that's coming out. Well, it will be out by the time you listen to this. And I didn't, because I didn't know how to like put substance behind it. Obviously, Deegan being there was a major coup for the event, and it got a lot of wider interest, of course, like in America and Europe and whatever else. But as far as at the event and the fans in the stands, I'm not certain that Deegan being there really made that big a difference to ticket sales. And like, I think I'm of the opinion, again, using the history of Argentine MXGP, beach races, Brazilian arena cross, I think they might have sold out without Deegan anyway.
Right. Okay. So this is the second question I wanted to ask you. They did sell out this venue. Like it turned into basically standing room only in some spots because of how many people ended up coming. And I don't fully understand the behind the scenes logistics of why they chose to do this versus go somewhere else. But like they went to a racetrack in Buenos Aires. It's the local, race car track.
The Oscar Edjuan car racing track.
Perfect. Well said.
Thank you. And thank you to Oscar and Juan for having us out.
It's pretty much geographically in between the airport and downtown. as far as I understand it,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
so it's a good location because you get people who are coming internationally, you get the locals, they can also come too. But if it's such a big event and they're going to sell out anyway, why would they not have tried to put this in a stadium? There's plenty of stadiums down there to try it. Why would they go with a pop-up one instead?
Okay, so on Friday, this was my mission. And I was asking a lot of WSX people, was there an attempt to go in a stadium? Were we going to a stadium and it fell through? Like, what was the thinking? And no one could really give me an answer. And I didn't speak to Tom about this, admittedly. He would have been the one who would have known. And if I go to Vancouver, which, similar to last week's podcast, no one knows. If I go to Vancouver, I am doing an hour podcast with Tom, and I'm going to push him quite hard, because I think it's time. We'll get into that. Remind me, I want to talk about the Tom leadership sort of thing.
We'll get there.
But yeah, I wondered this as well, because it is a bit odd, but then I've also bought into the concept, because I think that WSX has found its place. I really do. And I've written this in my article again, but what I'm now certain of is WSX is not suited or ready for a 70,000 seat stadium. It's just not. And I think we can all see that. Not only can they not sell the tickets to fill it and make it look like a vibrant event, I also don't really have the faith in the track crew to fill the stadium floor with a track that kind of merits the location. And also I don't have the faith in the field where you have a massive stadium floor, it's going to get too spread out. Maybe not this year, because SX1 is a little deeper, but for the most part, I think that the smaller Supercross track in Argentina, it was Supercross, it wasn't Arena Cross, but I think the smaller layout helped keep it a little closer than it would have been if it was a full-fledged stadium floor. So I'm disappointed and actually a bit negative on the fact that now WSX is going to go to real stadiums, because I don't think it can do that well. And I think that Vancouver, stood in contrast to Argentina, will look like another step back for the series and cause them to continue battling perception. Whereas, by all accounts, to have 8,000 seats, which I think is what there were in the grandstands in Argentina, that was a calculated decision to fill them. That was like, we think we can do this, so let's just hit that mark. That works perfectly for the series, because they can define what success looks like. You go to Vancouver, which I think seats 54,000 people, even if you get 20,000 people, which would be almost triple Argentina, it's going to look terrible. And also, when you're in a stadium like that, you are competing against SMX, because it's the same location. That's just natural. And again, WSX cannot be considered, and I'm really trying to get better at this, because I think that this is where some of our negativity comes from. Comparing it to SMX is a losing battle. It's not there. It's not going to be there for decades. It is a comparison to Paris, WSX, and it's a plucky underdog in category.
I'm fine with that comparison for sure, because you're right, that's where it is. But where my problem falls is that they, as a series, are building it way differently than that. And I guess that's what they have to do, but to market this, to make it look aesthetically bigger. But then when you do all this grandiose things and make it sound like we're competing and this is the highest level of the sport and all this stuff like that, and you go to an 8,000 grandstand pop-up Supercross with a track that, admittedly, aside from the whoops, was rather mellow. Now, the whoops definitely turned things around, but the track itself, like Jason Anderson turned a rhythm section into a whoop section because everything was built so small. So I think that, like, you need to have a crossover point where you realize we're not only building a series to compete at the highest level against these other series that are already established, but if we're going to do that, we have to go that route. We have to go into the bigger stadiums. We have to build tracks that are comparable so that the people that come down and actually race this series go back and say, oh, it's Supercross at the highest echelon.
Yeah, but I think that's biting off more than they can chew at this moment. I think they need to. I believe the recipe for success now that there's proof of concept is a run of events like Argentina, where it is a Supercross track. Admittedly, not the most technical, but it is Supercross by definition. Yeah. It's not Abu Dhabi, is what I'm getting at. So you've got that. You've got busy grandstands. Technically, with that setup, you can take it anywhere. I wrote this on Friday. The entire pit setup and stadium area, by my calculations, would have fit into the paddock in Villa Langostura. Like, it was that small an event, which is good. That's a positive. That sounds like a slight. It's absolutely not. That means they can pick it up and take it anywhere, which gives them a USP versus SMX, which is too big to do that. So I thought about SMX a lot over the weekend, because we know that they want to go international, and I think they would absolutely kill it anywhere they go. They could take on France, Germany, South Africa, Argentina, Brazil. They could go anywhere and sell out, and it would be an absolute success. I have no doubt in my mind. And also, I know at least, that for SMX, they are considering doing these pop-up event style thing. Like, if they can get to a beachfront and build their own grandstands and make their own event, I think they're open to that. But I wonder if they're too big to do that, because I can't imagine SMX fitting into this sort of setting. WSX, again, it sounds like a slight. WSX is so much smaller that it can do the pop-up event well. So just lean on that as your USP and just run with that for the time being.
I get it. Look, I totally understand your logic of where you're coming from. I'm not trying to fight you on this, but the problem I still have with it is that when they try to build it up as something bigger than it really is, that's where you come across these shortcomings where fans tune in and they're desensitized to what they're watching, because then they critique it as if it's going to be as big as Supercross.
So I've got a big mouth. Love to throw my opinion out there. On the WSX Instagram, Saturday morning, Jeff Emig, they did a predictions piece with each broadcaster. I'm sure you saw at least one of them. And Jeff Emig did one, and they said to Jeff, like, a SX2 winner. And he said, Max Anstey, he's on a new team, a new program. It's all adding up. And I said to some people at WSX, SX Global, I said, this is where you're falling short, because every single fan in the world and every single industry person and whoever else, which makes up pretty much a large percentage of the potential audience, they're looking at that and going, these idiots. We all know he's not on a new team. Why are you trying to tell us otherwise? So I agree, and that's not really relevant to what you just said, but I think it is to a degree. No, it's relevant to a degree where I think the messaging needs to be, like, even I said to Anstey, I said, you realize that, like, there's been a few places where it's been played up as you're on a new team. And he was like, what? They didn't do that for Eli last year, because I forgot this. Eli was technically CDR, wasn't he? But we all know that Team GSM haven't opened the checkbook and gone after Anstey. They haven't gone, well, we've got Display. I think we've got enough budget left for Anstey now. So, like, I wish, such a minor point, but I think tightening up the language, tightening up the approach, tightening up the perception would just go such a long way, because repeatedly I see just a choice of wording or just a choice of something else that just grates me, and especially reminds me that there's going to be people at home that are like, that's not, we know that's wrong. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of the broadcast you went back and watched, but they jumped between, I feel like, two halves. They went down a route which is very much like, oh, all these people know these names. You've seen him here, you've seen him here, you've seen him here. I mean, they're talking about Michael Hicks in Arena Cross, they're talking about ANC Racing Supercross and all this stuff like that. And then they'll, like, flip a switch randomly and just start talking about, well, Anstey and his World Supercross Championship and Shane McElrath and his World Supercross Championship, and they'll make it sound like the biggest effing deal ever, but it's not. I mean, like, I get it. Obviously, it's their series and they want to play into it. But when you go down the route of talking about the history behind these athletes in the first place, you have to meter it with the fact that Shane McElrath winning a World Supercross title is not the same thing as what Haiden Deegan has done on a 250 or something along those lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I did hear one moment, where not only that, but we're also throwing in Hicks as a World Arena Cross Championship rider.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Like, at this point, everyone gets a world label. Look, I once again, I shared this opinion at the venue. Ralph's got to go. We've got to move on. Some of the things he said, like, this really grated me, because I did see parts of the broadcast because I was between press room and track. He was talking about Roxon becoming an American citizen. And he was like, and we are so happy to have him. Ralph, you're not in fucking America. You're in Argentina. Who is we? You're calling the WSX series in Argentina. Who the fuck is we?
Yeah.
Like, again, terminology-wise, that if I'm WSX, I'm sat there going, hold on, you're talking we as if we're American Supercross and we're America. We're not. You need to talk from a global perspective. They are happy to have him. I mean, first of all, don't bring it up at all. It's fucking stupid to bring up in the middle of a main event, and a short main event at that. But you've got to tighten up the terminology because, again, this is clearly irks you, and again, similar to the Anstey comparison, this is such a minor point, but it just, to me, it landed on my ears and was immediate confusion of what is this series? Is it American? Is it not American? Who's we? You know, like, and I know better than most, and Ralph's got to go. You know, and also, you want to know what I think as well, and I think we all said this before. You need another voice. Let's not just do American accents because then it feels like an American series ripoff. Roger Warren would actually be a very good play-by-play person. Recognizable voice. He's very professional. He's done TV on Eurosport for years. Put him with Daniel Blair or Jeff or whoever else. It'll give a blend of accents. Again, recognizable. A lot of people would tune in and go, I know that voice. Malin would obviously be great, but he's, I presume, too tied up to do this. I think I'm on your side with that. There are wording issues, and I wish, similar to the way they have Covington now as like race director, I almost feel like they need someone on the media side to just be like, let's just tweak that word. Yeah, that's fine, but this is a safer way to do that, you know?
Right.
I mean, maybe DB will do that. Maybe DB can kind of make sort of a path in that way.
And you're right. Like, most of the issues I had with the verbiage did come from Ralph. Like, some of the things that Jeff said, I was also like, what? But like, even Ralph, going back to that point, he would be talking about like, oh, Lopes in Brazil and how big it is, and then he'd be like, and Michael Hicks from somewhere in Kansas, and you're like, but why'd you just say America, like USA?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when Anstey won the race, he was very much like, that's going to make our cast real happy because they're all British. And it's like, why are you like trying to tear down this weird fourth wall thing and like bring us in? I get it. You're just having fun, but also you're trying to present this as like this global series and talking mostly about American cities and American towns. I don't get it.
Yeah, completely agree. If you're either everyone's from a country or everyone's from a town.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't give the Americans, and I don't know why you would do that with Hicks especially. No one fucking cares. Like, it's just but it's also, that's just Ralph clinging to what he knows, isn't it?
I guess, but also, I mean, it does show up. Some of those guys did show up in the results as blank state or whatever. It's not just USA. So
yeah, but you've got to, like, I think that's something that needs to be discussed in a production meeting of like, where are these guys from? Oh, we're missing cities for half the field. Okay, everyone's for a country. Let's just, across the board, let's do countries. Which, again, makes sense. And it's also great, if you're going to do cities, go individual on each nation. Because maybe there's people in Winchester who are watching and they're going to be like, that's Max Anstey. He's from where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ralph literally, I think Ralph may have thought he was commentating on Anaheim 1. Don't think he knows the difference. I think it's all just, it begins with an A. So that's it. That's where we are. Also, I didn't even watch I didn't even watch the TV program. I'm worked up about this from like 5 minutes of observations of the TV program. And not the TV. I actually thought the TV production, issues aside, I like the graphics, I like the transitions. I thought the TV, from a production value point of view, had a lot of potential and actually was one of WSX's biggest perks. Ralph dragged it down with his archaic 2007 style commentary. And it's just, we've got to call it as we see it. We have to. And
yeah.
I'm also very confused because it was such a big deal that DB was going, but then as far as I can tell, DB was kind of like a bit of an outsider,
Well, no, I would say like he was, like when Weege like show hosts in SMX and he's like at a desk and then sometimes he's also in the booth and then like DB did a lot of that.
But when Weege is doing the desk thing, that's because he's not part of the main team. They give him that as like a Lee's here, so you can do this job.
Well, somehow, some way, DB was in the booth for some races. Like he would just be randomly having some analysts and all this stuff like that.
Look, I like Ralph. Should have started with that.
This is turning into a crapping on Ralph pod, I feel like, a little bit.
But I think it, honestly, in a series that up until this point has managed to do just about everything wrong. The minor details really matter. More than in SMX and more in any other place. I really believe that. And when your spokesperson is missing the mark on the identity of the series, I think you need to really look at that. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. 2 fans tweeted me and said that Ralph said the race was in Brazil. Did this happen? Did you hear this?
He said South America a lot,
Oh.
so maybe he got crossed up. Or maybe it was when he was talking about the Lopes thing and saying how close they were to Brazil. I don't know. But
I think FIM sanctioned event, I think they should have lent on. We are 500 miles from where the MXGP was held this year. Just down the road, we've moved, we're north of that. They should have lent on that. But Ralph and Jeff aren't going to be able to do that. Do they even know MXGP visited Argentina? Lean on the fact that Argentina actually has quite a up-and-coming moto scene. 10 years ago, no MXGP, no WSX, I don't think any beach races either. Now they're kind of doing it all. Let's lean on that. Let's sell that.
And even from on a global stage of Argentina, I thought it was funny how Jeff was talking about Jacob's gear being the Argentinian national football team, replica. Yeah. But he said soccer. And then he stopped himself and said, "I'm so sorry, that's the American in me. I mean football." And it's like, we don't need to have some weird correction for that. You said it, let's just move on. Yep. But even that, it's weird how they kept getting hung up on stuff like that.
Yeah, because they don't know. They don't even know what their position is. Are we American? Are we they can't even figure it out. You know what? I need to go to Vancouver. I'm going to burst into a production meeting and just be like, guys, sort it out. Let's tighten it up. TIU.
Okay. I don't want to keep riffing on the broadcast. I know.
We barely touched on the fact that I was at the race. We just talked about it. I should have stayed at home.
I wanted to ask you about post-race reactions because I've listened to your interviews. For the most part, it was quite positive. And you've been to these races before where riders are more outspokenly negative. Now, did you get the sentiment that they were positive because there was a lot of positivity, or there was a little bit of undermining, we don't want to crap too much on the series stuff?
The first point, most of all, every rider off record said this is the best WSX race so far.
Okay.
And with that in mind, a lot of them said, I didn't want to harp on the negatives too much. But as the event moved further into the background, like at the airport, for instance, yesterday, a couple of riders I bumped into were like, fucking hell, that was a mess, or I need to fix that. So whilst it was, look, again, every WSX race up until this point, really low down. This was arguably the best that WSX can be in its current form. From an event standpoint, I honestly have no criticisms. I really don't. Atmosphere was alive. It felt like there was a genuine warmth in the paddock, engagement. Everyone was into it. It felt like an event that mattered, and I've never been able to say that about WSX. And equally, that's the opinion on the ground, but from the reaction and the questions I was getting on social media, text messages, whatever else, for the first time, it felt like this was something of importance. Brilliant. The track was good. Again, the whoops did save it. Without the whoops, it probably would have been a bit shit, but it was fine. This was WSX's. This is the best WSX can be in its current form. And I wrote this in my article again. Argentina, the Buenos Aires City GP, will be WSX's best event of 2025. I'm 100% certain of that right now, because this is where it fits, not in the massive stadiums. It's not quite there yet.
It's interesting that you say that the way the event was ran, you don't have no changes, because to me, I feel like changes. The obvious changes. Well, the obvious thing is the time of this was ridiculous. It started at 9 p.m. local, and on top of that, all of you guys were there at 9 a.m., 10 a.m.,
yep.
And then there was a practice set, one practice session, then 3 hours, then another practice session, and then qualifying in Super Pole, and then an hour and a half. What was this weird format? I don't know. I spoke to a few people again.
I'm hoping to go to Vancouver and sit down with Tom, because I've got a lot of questions. What I can get, I kind of got this from one person, and I've also filled in some blanks myself. Perhaps the Argentine culture, because they all have siestas in the afternoon. So perhaps there was a little bit of that and trying to work around the local timings because they do typically eat a lot later. And, like it's not a 5 p.m. is the evening. It's more of a 9 p.m. sort of culture. So perhaps that. But then in contrast, you could say MXGP never pandered and they had fans turn up. Again, I feel like they could have used MXGP as a much, much stronger reference point. I really do. So I wonder if, in the same way that they were hesitant with the number of grandstands and tried to play it conservative, I wonder if they try to pander to the local culture to really make sure that people were going to be there and engaged. Like, I wonder if they doubted whether people would turn up to a regular Supercross program, So I wonder if they made it so top-heavy at the end of the night because they were like, maybe we can capture everyone for a couple of hours, but we're not certain we can capture them for a day. So that's kind of what I've started to guess myself. I don't know.
You mentioned the MXGP thing a couple times now. The FIM sanctions this event. Is there any FIM crossover of any kind? Like, have you seen any officials or something similar there?
The main FIM guy in MXGP, he's there.
The Jorge what his name is. Or whatever?
The guy who does not Jorge Villegas, that's the president. The guy who does the ping pong balls at the Nations.
Yeah.
I completely forget his name. He always looks like he's having the time of his life on a bit of a holiday.
But he was there this weekend. Did he have the time of his life?
He looked happy. I mean, sure. It honestly, all of the complaints. So I said I had 2 items to cross off to start, and I only did one of them. The first was SMX. It can't be compared to it. SMX is on a whole nother level. It's like comparing me to Jet Lawrence. It's not there. Second of all, and now that I've said that, I've forgotten what my second point was.
Antonio Portela.
That's it. Second of all, what was my second of all point? I've completely forgotten. It was another disclaimer, and I've forgotten it again. Well, at least I've done my first one twice now.
Okay. Well, we've gone through the semantics of the series quite a bit. I want to talk about some on-track action. There's not a lot to... Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I might have more. Oh, so first of all, to clarify the schedule, the riders had to be there at 12:45 for opening ceremonies rehearsal. So the riders officially had to be there from 12:45 to 11:45 p.m.
Yeah.
The pits were very, very, very... You could have thrown a stone from the bikes to the FMX show, and it was a festival atmosphere all day, just non-stop music blaring. So a lot of the riders, their patience was wearing thin. Like Savacci was sat in the show office for like 4 hours in the afternoon because it was the only place he could find where there was a bit of peace and quiet. Like, he's literally sat amongst the officials just with headphones on. So that was a complaint. I know from talking to people that they felt like the riders weren't cared for enough because there was a rider lounge, but it was next to the road race circuit, which supposedly was running an Argentine Formula 4 race at the same time. So it was really loud there. So it was a locker room, but it was just as bad as the pit setup. One team principal, as they called him, said to me that the riders have nowhere to go. It's quite cold now at 11 p.m. They're coming back from a main event, all sweaty and everything, and they've just got to sit on a chair in a parking lot. There's no climate control. There's nowhere for them to properly decompress. And they felt, and rightfully so, they felt like that's such a trivial detail that's so easy to successfully complete that they felt like the only reason it was overlooked is because there wasn't the level of care that there should have been for the athletes. And I do agree with that. I do. And I could see that because I was quite thankful that I had the press room. I actually invited a couple of riders to the press room. I was like, it's great. We've got Wi-Fi, we've got walls. But in the same token, the fact that we're now boiling this down to the trivial details is actually quite positive. Because every other WSX race has been like, we don't even get into the semantics of pit setups and everything. We're just like, this is a fucking shit show. It's terrible. So the fact that we're now getting into this sort of criticism is actually, in a weird way, quite a big positive step for the series, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the schedule, it should be refined a little bit or something because it was a pretty rough viewing experience, a lot of downtime and stuff like that. And then
that's also, I didn't think about that. So I was sat around for ages, spoke to a lot of people a lot. They're all sick of the sight of me. I didn't think about that how random and weird it must have been being at home. Because again, SMX, the block of practice and qualifying kind of never stops. Yeah, there's about 45-minute break, but it fairly rolls over. So it must have been even weird. And from what I saw on social media and stuff, I don't think they did a very good job of communicating. Like, now we've got 4 hours.
No, definitely not.
I think they probably lost a lot of engagement and just commitment from fans with the weirdo schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it felt quite disoriented a little bit until the night show. The night show, I thought they kind of pulled everything together pretty well.
Yeah, it went really quick, didn't it? Like, it was almost polar opposite. We stood around all day doing absolutely nothing, and then now we're going racing, and it's over.
And I will say that, like you said, they needed to be there for 12:45 for opening ceremonies practice, and they would be there from 12 to 12 basically. But that's not necessarily wildly uncommon to Supercross, like especially if track walks at 10:30, you're getting there at 10, the race ends at 10 p.m. like you're there basically the same thing. So but it for some reason feels way more filled out during the day at a Supercross versus this. So
because you have ABC practice for each class, that bulks up the schedule quite aggressively.
But I'm sure if you actually, I don't know if you were able to like really dive into this with the riders, but if they felt like there was a really long amount of downtime, because I'm sure that the gaps are still longer than what we see at a normal Supercross.
Oh no, they were for sure.
Riding. Yeah, so
they were. A lot of the riders said if we had a place to go, we'd be having a nap right now.
Yeah,
like it, and it obviously
that's
a
big deal for Jason Anderson too. He's a big nap guy, so I wonder what he did.
Yeah, I didn't ask him if he found a place, but there was a lot of just waiting around, and I don't know what you do. I don't think you can necessarily add anything to the program. I just think you've got to bring it all closer together.
Did they have the FMX show on track ever?
No, it was always in the pits.
That's weird.
No,
the finish line jump was built up to seem like that's where they would do it.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you have it in the pits? I actually think it's better to have it in the pits than on track.
I guess, but if you're just in the grandstands, which by the way, they didn't show like any stuff from practice aside from like some clips on social media and stuff. Were the grandstands full all the way at like noon or 1 or whatever it was?
So I arrived at the track at 10 a.m. ish. The gates opened to fans at 1 p.m. And at 10 a.m. there were already fans lined up, sat on the curb, waiting to get in. And quite a large line. But again, I almost, in a weird way, I wish I'd never been to MXGP in Argentina. Because none of that surprised me. Because I'm like, well, that's just like MXGP. Oh, that's just like MXGP. I wonder what my perspective would be if this was completely new to me. And I had no context for the Argentine community.
Yeah, well, I mean, the riders that were there that, most of them had never done the MXGP in Argentina. I mean, Max maybe did it, but that was...
And Covington.
Who else? Yeah, so, but like, they all seemed to be pretty enthusiastic about the spirit of the crowd and how many people were there all the time around and stuff like that. Like you said, like it became a festival, so they got a little jaded to it by the end of the day. But that's all anyone had to say pre and post race is like, man, there's just people everywhere.
Yeah, they were into it. They were really into it. And there is... I mean, it's no different to the nations, is it? It's the same conversation. The American fans are very invested, but the extroverted nature of international fans, whether it's Europe or South America, is just a touch different for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it really kind of adds to an event.
Okay. Do you have more that you want to go over with this? Because we've gone 35 minutes on observations of the race so far. I would like to get into the race a little bit.
They have to listen to Covington.
Okay.
Like, Covington is going to be imperative. I told Covington this as well. Laid it all out for him. He is going to be the man that either drives this forward if they listen to him, and if they don't listen to him, then I think it plateaus. It's all on Covington's shoulders.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, Thomas Covington, who used to race MXGP and had one pretty failed season racing in the U.S., is now the
director of racing.
Director of racing, okay, for WSX. That was announced, 4 days before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty recent, but I would hope he kind of knows what he's doing. Obviously, his dad is a big part of Monster, so he's probably pretty familiar with the business side of this sport because of that.
And remember, for the last 5 years, he's been, I think, the head guy in powerboat jet ski racing.
I had no idea about that. So,
Oh, really?
No, I had no idea.
I have no idea what the championship is, but like, it's legit. I think it might be the biggest championship. He's been promoting jet ski and powerboat races.
No idea, but cool. now he's doing back to the Supercross side.
So, again, culture differences. Max and Covington. I mean, Covington obviously wasn't racing, so we'll just use Max. Max very much slipped back into his MXGP preparation, sort of like he brought a packet of rice to the track. He, because knowing that there's not a truck, there's not this, like you are on limited supplies. I think some of the Americans weren't ready for that at all. And I think that's where Covington, with his experience of racing MXGP, but then racing Supercross, and then promoting, can really bridge the gap of like, so the Americans aren't going to be familiar with how this works, and they're going to want this, so we need to make sure that it's easier for them to get this. Whereas someone like Anstey will be prepared for that, so we don't need to be worried about him. So, I think, almost not a language barrier, but a culture barrier across the board. I think Covington has so much experience from every side that he can really plug a lot of those holes.
I would assume that he will be, but maybe this being first weekend on the job kind of thing, he was a little bit like yes manning everything and trying to toe the line.
He is the successor to Kurt Nickel, who is leaving at the end of this season, and Kurt is still there, so he was more shadowing Kurt at the moment.
Okay.
But equally, no hate comms. Kurt is obviously a name from the past. I feel like most of the riders in the paddock probably are either unfamiliar with Kurt or don't really know him. I'd imagine most of the riders in WSX have some experience with Thomas in one way or another, used to race him, followed him, know who he is. So that, him being more of a familiar face for the riders than Kurt is, I believe, I think will have a massive impact.
Yeah, it might.
I mean, in the same way that, like, me being the only English-speaking media person there, I got so many questions from riders and teams like, what are we doing about this? How do we get this? Do you know where this is? Can you go and ask this? Like they kind of cling to a familiar face, and Thomas can be that.
But at the end of the day, to hit back on that slightly, at the end of the day, you have to be good at the job regardless. So Covington could be, more familiar to these guys, but if he doesn't do a good job, it's not going to matter, because I'll go to the AMA side. Like when they had a liaison like Trey Kennard and all this other stuff helping out with tracks and all that, it didn't seem to work. But now that Ezra Lusk is there, who is not as old as Kurt Nickel, but in that kind of echelon of a guy that people will soon forget because he's been that far removed from a career, it sounds like it's working excellent, and he's been great to work with the riders. So that's what I mean. Like Covington starts to actually do a damn good job here.
Well, I think Covington will have creative license with the track stuff because they don't know. Like, who in SX Global is going to go, no, we think the triple needs to look like that, I just hope that they lean on him for more of the event, logistics, rider, team stuff, because, again, his powerboat and jet ski experience means he does have a valid opinion in that arena. He's not just racer guy who doesn't know about this side of the sport. It's all eyes on Covington.
And Burwell. All eyes on Covington and Burwell going into Vancouver.
Yeah, I can't remember what I said I wanted to talk about Burwell, but I can't remember why.
Well, you think on that, and we'll maybe get back to it in a second. I want to tell you guys about Racetech. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern and vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance, and could help a few guys out this weekend in the whoops as they were hopping their way through them things. 11 whoops this weekend, and they got brutal by the end of the day. So, again, big shout-out to Racetech for backing the show. Okay, I wanted to talk about the racing a little bit. And I guess let's just go Deegs, right? Because he makes his 450 debut. He goes 4.63 for third overall. He doesn't get to start in a good gate at all because he missed gate selection or something along those lines and had to start outside every single race, which obviously hurt his chances. But I was having a conversation with a few people afterwards, and it seemed like there was a bit of a dichotomy of he's supposed to win, he should have been better than that, versus it's his first 450 race, that was pretty good. Now, which of those sides of the fence would you most likely fall on if you're going to rate his first race on a 450?
I thought it was really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm all in. I think I saw, for the first time, maybe ever, I saw something in Deegs where I'm like, okay, I can get on board with this. I see where the excitement is.
Yeah, I will say the same because he had to come through the field in every race except the last one. He started in 4th in the last race, got into 3rd right away, and Jay Coop and Roxon kind of just pulled away from him a little bit. He didn't really like run them down or anything crazy. So I think the speed is about kind of where I expected it to be, close to them. Maybe it needs to be a little bit faster in general, especially when it comes to qualifying. He was 7th, didn't seem to be hitting the mark there. But what I did notice from him that I kind of feel like always happens with anybody that gets on a 450 in Supercross is he had all of his 250 tendencies still, way over revving the bike, overriding the corners, sliding out more because of that, which is exactly what I predicted would maybe happen with the way that he would try to ride this track. And he burned through 2 clutches doing that in the races. So I think just calm down a little bit and he'll be fine, right?
Yeah, and on a clutch watch, hydraulic first race, hydraulic second race, cable third race.
Yeah. Which
and
he
no
didn't
issues.
do. He didn't burn through it in the 3rd. Yeah.
No, and he actually didn't ride with a cable clutch at all pre-Argentina. And from every conversation I had across the weekend, I would bet so much money that he's on a 450 come Anaheim 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, you asked him twice, basically, like in the preview interviews that you did with him. You said, "Will we see you on a 450 at Anaheim 1?" And he laughed and said,
"Yeah." The fact
we'll
that he
see.
didn't just go, "No, I'm."
Right, yeah,
you know, like it.
And then afterwards, he said, basically, like, "Why go back? You don't have anything to do on a 250 anymore." And
even that, Argentina just proved it to me. Like, yeah, you're ready. Like, what's the point? I don't know if he does a full season, but I do believe he will start Anaheim 1 on a 450 and then just see how it goes.
Well, that's where the hit back came from a little bit from people I talked to, is that they said, like, he went down there and he is supposed to be a guy, if you will, in the future to be the guy in 450s, right? Challenge Jet, Challenge Chase, all this. And he went down there against a cast of riders that, aside from Roxon, we would say are not top 5 guys anymore. Yes, Jason Anderson, maybe. Justin Cooper by the end of Supercross was. But if you throw everybody together on the track, you obviously put Jet, Sexton, Tomac, Webb above this group, and he couldn't necessarily run the pace of that group. And so that was the hit back that people had. But it's his first race. Like, you can't read that much into it, I think.
Yeah, and realistically, I don't think that Chase or Jet would work Kenny on that layout in those conditions. I think they would beat him, yes, but I don't think they would be just like 15 seconds ahead, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's we've seen it time and time again. These off-season races do level the playing field somewhat, and his results are kind of thrown out because of his gate pick. So we didn't really get a true test. He did have the second fastest lap time in the first main event. Pass. His progress in the second main event and the first was incredibly impressive. Great. His 250 tendencies, like you said, also kind of a slow starter in the first half and then just wicks it up out of nowhere in the second half. That was very clear to see for all. I honestly, I have nothing bad to say. But you say you watched both of my interviews with Haiden. Definitely a humble Haiden, huh? Way more like, or shucks.
Yeah. I mean, he went into it more humble for sure. Like, I don't feel like your pre-interview. I mean, he basically said, "I'm on a vacation race," which also takes a lot of pressure off of himself by saying that, because if anything goes wrong, you could just be like, "Yeah, I was just down here to have fun." But at no point did he ever elicit the idea that I'm going to go out here and crush these guys. And then after the race, he was like, "Oh, it's really interesting racing all these guys that I've looked up to all these years." So, like, even that downplaying it a little bit too. So,
yeah, and I think even just not so much what he said, his body language in the interviews was never combative. It was much more like talking to Anstey, where it's just like, "Oh, yeah," you know, like it was just a genuine conversation. Yeah. Whereas I think sometimes, even without saying words, Deegan in interviews, it comes across as like he's going to kill everyone. So yeah, no, I thought humble Haiden. I felt like the interviews were way different to normal Haiden interviews.
Yeah, I did enjoy. Maybe my favorite thing of the weekend was that Jorge Zaragoza was just giving it to him in race one. I mean, just every time Deegan to try to make a pass, and Zaragoza on the Stark would just block the line. "Nope, you're not going here. I'll pass you back here." I mean, he rode great. I did not know that Jorge was that good of a rider in Supercross. Proved me a little bit stupid with that, but Deegan was just like, you could tell he's getting flustered.
Yeah, and even in the last main, Deegan finally had a good start, but who was right there in front of him? Zaragoza once again. I mean, we
Classic.
were all looking forward to the Deegan-Jorge battles. We just didn't know that it would be that Jorge.
Yeah.
No, Zaragoza's a weird career. He was tipped to be like the next Hurlings. He was it. He was the man.
Yeah.
And it just never started. Similar
How old
to
is he now? Like 26, 27?
I've got to think older than that. Well,
Really?
maybe not. Maybe that's definitely no younger than that, I'll say.
Aside from Deegan, like Roxon sweeps races, Anstey sweeps
29.
races in SX2. 29, okay. Anything else really like catch your eye, jump off the page? I feel like the results seem pretty straightforward. I don't know.
It was really, 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 really good to see Christian Craig be Christian Craig.
Oh yeah. No, I mean top free practice FP1.
Yeah.
And looked good in the whoops.
Kenny in the first main, looked great, looked very comfortable, was doing interviews again, which I think we all know, like, last couple of years, he's kind of shied away from talking. Seemed happy in his interviews. Like, he's a great interview. Definitely top 6 interviews in our sport.
And now it'll be bald, right? Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, it's Monday. So supposedly it's happening today. And that also answers the question of people who think Haiden and Christian have beef. But how about my press day interview where, without even asking him, Christian just randomly dropped, "Yeah, I was used and abused by Star."
Yeah, well,
okay.
Clearly, he's. I don't think there's any love lost there anymore.
No. I thought that was very interesting, especially considering, it wasn't even a question, I don't think, about Star.
But yeah, Roxon, Cooper, Deegan, Craig Anderson, top 5. Joey 6th. I think he was better than 6th. Like, that's a tough result in the end of the day. So
Joey, we're lucky that Joey didn't have a mental breakdown. Between the freeze thing, the flagging thing, the electric bike thing, the noise, Joey was the one most affected by the noise, without doubt. I think Joey's on to Vancouver. But once again, like, do I care about the results? Yes, more so than WSX in the past. But do I want to sit here for an hour and break it all down in a similar vein to the AMA races? No. You know?
Yeah.
Still, to me, the headline with WSX is the event, how it's run, how it's operating, what potential it has, what the downsides are. That's where the interest lies. And actually, I'll say this. Off record, so I won't say who it was, I was talking to a competitor in between practice sessions on Saturday. And I was kind of trying to get into it. I was talking about sectors, and this person went, "It's not that deep." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "It's not that deep. Like, it doesn't really matter that much yet." Like, talking about, the title, the racing, the results.
Yeah.
And I think that's a valuable... Again, if you're WSX and you listen to that, you're probably up in arms. But that is where the series is at. And I think you've got to just take these steps, build on them. And again, I'm finally at the point where I'm not even comparing this to SMX. Like, I'm just not. It's not even relevant. So I'm trying to look at it more with just as something new. And Argentina helped that because we've never seen a Supercross like that, which helps them so much. Because then that does make it's harder for you to, like, watch it and go, Anaheim won? Like, Vancouver, again, this is my whole point. Vancouver on TV will look like it could be Arlington or Indy, but a shit version, with all due respect. So that's where they fall down, because everyone watches it and their mind goes, this is a Temu version of whatever AMA race. Whereas you watch Argentina and you're almost forced, your subconscious kind of just doesn't compare it to anything, and you enjoy it for what it is. Which I think has always been WSX's difficulty.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go back to the aesthetics of it, but I still do think that when you have pop-up stands and lighting that isn't the best, that's where it maybe detracts from the show, even though the track was maybe good and all that stuff. So aside from that point, as you mentioned, it's not that deep. These people maybe didn't care that much about this race. When Deegan mentioned that it's a vacation race, do you think he actually meant that Justin Hill is treating this as a vacation race?
I believe that it's time to put the Justin Hill hype to rest.
Oh,
I think I'm there. Like, I mean, I think if you're Bud, you know what you're getting, don't you? So why are you hiring him? Like, do you really think he's coming out here?
I mean,
all guns are
if you're
blazing.
if you're Bud Racing, you're hiring the guy that got 8th in 450 SX points this year.
Yeah, well,
And he just finished 11th in WSX behind Ryan Brees and, no disrespect again, Greg Aranda, Matt Moss.
Yep.
So
that's what, yeah, I'm done with Justin Hill will turn up occasionally, and that's cool. But you know, it's not that deep with Justin Hill either. And years of karma have come round for Vince Freeze in the form of an electric bike.
Yeah,
at long last,
bad weekend all around.
Got him. Yep, it's at long last. Karma has bitten Vince Freeze. We had to wait for the new age to come around.
Yep. I thought it was interesting on the topic of Start Quickly in your Anderson interview, how you asked him. He didn't even hear. I guess it was Zaragoza at the inside in the last race. Didn't even hear him, and then just got punted in turn 1.
Yeah, it was on a turn I was standing and I could see, I don't know who it was, Ace Stark on the inside of him.
Well, Freeze didn't start the last race, so.
Oh yeah, I guess it would have been Zaragoza. And you could tell by Anderson's body language, he just knew no one was there. He had no idea. And then just, boom, and you could see Anderson's body language again was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
And again, I don't care about the Stark thing. I think it's a gimmick. I don't think it added anything to the event. I know Ralph loved it, is what I've been told. Can't get enough.
It was
of the
mentioned
Stark.
a lot.
Yep. But that's because Ralph, you know what?
Moving on. We're on to Vancouver. Which
just you can do a lot. But like Ron Burgundy, Ralph has a bit of paper and it says Roxon has an American passport, there's an electric bike, and this is the World Series. And that's all it says, and we're just hitting those points.
Okay. Vancouver. Tomac, Roxon, who wins?
Okay, can I ask you a question before that question? The prequel to that question. Does it matter? If Tomac gets beaten... No, I don't mean WSX wise. I mean, if Tomac gets beaten, are we losing our minds, or do we just go, it's his 3rd week on a KTM?
No, because even when Roxon would battle him or beat him occasionally in WSX last year, I don't think we were like, oh God, Eli's bad again. Like no one cared. So
did Roxon beat him at all last year?
I thought he beat him in like a couple sprint races. Tomac won all the main, but Roxon beat him in a sprint race too.
Yeah, like well, similar. I guess it was the same conversation we had with Deegan. Like, are we living and dying by Tomac's results in Vancouver, or are we going to be very level-headed about it and just go with the flow?
No, I think we're just going to be like, okay, yeah, first time on a KTM, let's see how he feels, if all this hype is really good or not.
And again, optics of the series. I understand why you're getting Deegan and J. Coop there as wild cards. It helps tremendously. And I think that once we get to Sweden, when there's no wild cards, as far as I know at this point, Roxon's leaving, no Deegan, no Tomac, no Webb, no etc., etc., I feel like the interest will nosedive quite dramatically. Fair. That's obvious. So it's understandable why you have the wild cards, but it's just a tough look when I'm interviewing Justin Cooper on press day, and it's quite evident he literally couldn't give a fuck. like it's quite evident that we're just there for the start money.
Yeah.
So and I wrote that on Friday about the perception of WSX, and I think I'm going to pull it up. You know what? I'm going to recite my article because I think this is the best way to sum it up. Vital's quite slow right now.
Well, while you pull that up, I'll tell the fine people at home about Namura. Namura Technologies has been a trusted name in performance engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 20 years. From complete rebuilds to high-performance upgrades, Namura delivers precision-engineered parts built to perform under pressure. Find full product details and application coverage today at namura.com.
Okay, this is what I wrote, and I genuinely believe this is a situation where WSX gets a lot of confusion and criticism because we just don't know. So regarding importance of the series, I wrote, everyone has a different answer depending on where they stand. It's no different to the spectators. WSX offers Christian Craig a lifeline and chance to revitalise his career, so his stance will be different to that of Justin Cooper, who's been paid start money and literally is here to collect a check. This is another fundamental issue. Everyone agrees that Anaheim 1 is of unspeakable importance. No one even needs to ask for question. But when you get to WSX, you wonder. And I think that is exactly the issue of where we're at. No one at Anaheim 1 is going, so how much does this mean? You excited?
I also, to kind of, I guess, bounce off of that a little bit, I really do wonder, all these manufacturers buying in, doing the wild card thing now and all that stuff like that, if somebody does this and gets hurt and misses the start of Supercross, how long until we are back to nope, 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 nope?
Being as vague as physically possible, I know that a factory has WSX in their back pocket as a full-time as an offer to a rider if they need it as leverage. Like if they're in a tight battle for a rider and they need to pull out, we'll support you for the whole WSX series, they've had a conversation and they're ready to pull that card, which is interesting.
Okay. So they'll whatever the money is, I guess, kind of go for it to make sure it keeps happening.
And actually, I guess, so obviously Yamaha have kind of been more involved than anyone with Tomac, Anstey, whatever else. We've yet to have a HRC rider of any kind. This weekend will mark the first Austrian rider of any kind, I believe, right?
If can I ask a question? Because Vial sounds like he is still going to maybe do Australia.
No, he's out.
Right?
He's done.
Well, I heard it was a maybe.
No,
Not
WSX posted that he's out.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, either way, if he did do that, would you have counted that as Honda supported it? Or
oh yeah,
okay,
nice.
All right.
Well, I'm just using like factory rider.
No, I know, but I'm saying like clearly there's a disconnect between like what American teams and the American factories approach this as.
If Tomac being there this weekend means KTM are supporting him. You know, if Vial turned up with quad-lock Honda graphics, then I'm like, no, Honda aren't. But if he's there in a wildcard spot with a HRC bike, then I'm like, HRC have supported us.
Okay.
We're never getting a Kawasaki rider. Kawasaki can't even figure out the nations. Suzuki, obviously. So yeah, it's just Honda and Austria, right? What manufacturer am I missing?
I mean, Ducati, Beta, like, are they going to ever consider this?
Yeah, fuck me. What if TM are going to come out?
I was surprised that Oldenburg raced Stuttgart this weekend.
Yeah, was he on a
beta? Yeah.
Okay, I saw him on the podium. I never saw a riding photo, so I didn't know if he was on a beta or not.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. But yeah, Tomac versus Roxon. No Deegan this weekend. No Webb. But we do have J. Coop still.
2 points. One, Steve tweeted that when Roxon leaves, Colt's points are going to count for Roxon.
Yeah, did you get to the bottom of this?
I got told today that's false.
That, like, if they did that, all credibility gone, in my opinion.
So I met Anstey in the airport yesterday, and he was with the Star lot. And Max was like, Did you hear? Colt's going to do this. How weird and cool. And I went, it's not cool. I said, that'll end at WSX. If they do that, it's over. They are literally lighting a bomb in the middle of the championship and exploding the whole thing, and it will never come back. Imagine if round 4, Colt Nichols just turns up for the first time and has a red plate.
Yeah, that would be so stupid.
Yeah. But it sounds like that's not happening. And then also, I don't know where I heard this. I didn't get told this. I read it in an interview or a press conference, or Tom Burwell said that, yes, they're going to expand into the summer next year, but they will clash with outdoors, but they will take September off to avoid clashing with SMX and the Nations, which I thought was quite a interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I guess specifically outdoors, because there's some guys that won't do outdoors.
Well, yeah, like Suzuki, I guess, is a big one. Like they'll quite happily skip outdoors to go to WSX. Quadlock Honda quite happily skip outdoors to go to WSX. Whereas for those two teams, SMX is more important.
You would lose Rick Ware Racing, Rick Ware Racing as of right now, because they are a club lease team.
I'm sure the series will survive without Henry Miller.
I'm just saying.
And actually, so if I go to Vancouver, which no one knows, also no one knows if I'm going to the WSX Open or Gold Coast. It's all on the table. If I go to Vancouver, as I said, I plan to do an hour podcast with Tom Burwell, and I'm gonna peel back the layers a little bit because we don't need to hear how much he's a fan of the sport and how much it deserves to go global and all of this anymore. Like, we got it. It's time to really, like, ultimately, Vancouver last year was your first Supercross. You're a businessman. Why are you here? Like, what is it? It's not. And okay, you may love the sport now, but you didn't love the sport when you bought in because you'd never seen it. So, like, let's cut the PR speak and let's kind of start to understand what you're doing here and what the plan is.
Yeah. I mean, the next few rounds of it are going to be really interesting to see the approach, the methodology, the terminology, everything. Got a good glimpse of it this weekend. Can we talk Paris a little bit before we go?
Well, in order to be fair to everyone, in a similar vein to WSX, do I really care about the Paris results? No.
Oh,
and
okay,
do I want to sit down for an hour after the race and divulge into the Paris results? No.
Let me tell you about
Tom Vial on a Honda? Yes.
Yes,
Take
you
all
should.
my money.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Partzilla. Partzilla.com is the premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. And PRMX's Mitchell Harrison, I don't think he's riding a PRMX bike this weekend, but he is in the Paris Supercross list of riders that should be there. So
is he?
Yeah.
Is it not Australian Supercross this weekend? No one knows.
I don't know, man. He's on the list. So.
It's November. We're just racing. It's just basically you wake up on Saturday and you find out there's a race somewhere and you're like, cool.
Okay, so Vial on an HRC Honda, first time this weekend. Biggest deal of the weekend, or like jet racing web?
Nope.
No one cares. Okay, all Vial.
Do I care more about Vial on a Honda than Tomac on a KTM? I think so.
I think you do. I mean, it's first time on a 450.
And I don't really know why, but for some reason I'm all in on this. I think because it's a little bit of a teaser for Hurlings.
Okay, I guess.
Hurlings on a Honster? On a Honster?
Honster.
Not to divulge too much. I wonder if Vial will have Monster stuff this weekend. Was that too early? I wonder if maybe not. Would he have a Red Bull helmet still? I don't think he was ever...
I don't know.
I've never thought of this. I'm quite curious.
Yeah, I guess...
Because if there is some sort of Red Bull contract still, you can imagine Red Bull France being like, yeah, we'd still like you for this race.
Well, he's obviously... The KTM thing, they've said goodbye, all of that. But he still had all of his individual sponsors, and the Honda deal that he's going to also has their sponsors. So how is that going to work? Like, is he for sure going to be in their team gear this weekend?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, no question about it. Like, Arrow, everybody's contract's over.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm excited for Vial.
But we don't know about Monster or not.
No. Well, mainly, I'm not so much talking because of Red Bull conflicts. I just don't know if that's going to be a January the 1st unveiling, you know? Because, like, if they show Vial in Monster this weekend, they're kind of like, it's kind of like a soft launch of what's coming. Everyone will then know. And I mean, I guess now that I've spoken about it, everyone will know anyway. So just do it.
Yeah, just Lewis put it out there as you did with the Vial going to Honda in the first place, so everybody knows. Yep.
Lewis was discussing how much we should keep this a secret, but in doing so, blew the secret. So we should just launch it.
Yeah. Okay, no, but seriously, so Jet, Cooper Webb, Malcolm, Hunter Lawrence, Vial behind all of them this weekend on a 450?
Yes. Can he beat Malcolm?
Oh, here's what I don't understand. I get that he's a big name in France, and we talked about this with Pernard on Pulp. This does nothing for him anymore. He's not racing Supercross. So, like, what's the level of care?
He's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he really feels slighted by the American industry. I don't believe that if he had a choice, he would have gone back to MXGP. And I think that he is quite adamant that he wants to prove that he can race Supercross on a 450 so that he can A, shut some people up, and B, open the door for his return down the line.
So
Look at it this
Like
way.
the only guy motivated to win this weekend, could he win?
No. I'm looking at every single Tom Vial Honda Supercross from this point on. WSX next year, allegedly. Paris this weekend. Every single race is an audition. And therefore, every single race is something he cares about to go back to that overarching point. So whether he's racing in Canada or Paris or Gold Coast or Zimbabwe, which isn't where South Africa is, it's Cape Town, but still. I think he cares every single time because I think he knows that if he goes out there this weekend and gets beaten by insert random rider name here, I think he knows that everyone will immediately go, see, we were right to not sign him for America. Stakes are high. The emotions are high.
The next like 4 months of Vial's life is such a weird anomaly to me. Like obviously going back to Europe and all this, but then to still be racing Supercross, and then the team hasn't been announced yet, but he's racing for the team, and then suddenly Hurlings will be his teammate like 2 months from now, and then it's like
they're putting out the VL PR this week. So
I know, but I'm saying like there will be no fully Honda launch until January 1. Right? Like they're not going to have like a here's everybody at the factory type of thing yet until Jeffrey's involved.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that for Jeffrey either.
Really?
Well, why would just because
don't we normally go through the whole photo shoot rigmarole and all these guys show up in their team garb and really?
In the factory? When have you ever seen I've never seen Jet in the Japanese factory. I never saw Tim there. I never saw
I'm not talking about the Japanese factory. I'm talking about the race shop, like Garibaldi and stuff.
Yeah, they'll have 100%. They'll have a photo shoot image of Tom, a handshake photo. It'll all be there. Certain.
All right. Okay.
If anything, it's better because I detest how the teams now do all of the riders in one PR. So I prefer it that we're getting Tom as a prequel to Jeffrey.
Do you think that when they do the launch, whatever day this week, they'll actually have shots of him already on the bike?
Yeah, well, he's been riding, so I don't see why not.
I know, but do you think it's just going to be, a handshake, there he is, and we'll see him in Paris this weekend?
Honda do a fairly good job, don't they?
Mostly.
Yeah. Very interesting. So Jeffrey, I believe, is going this weekend to watch. I know how much time he's going to be spending with his old friend Tom.
Is he just going to show up in like black shirt, black pants?
It's KTM rider.
Really?
He'll be KTM top. It's KTM rider, Kellen. Until January the 1st.
Say it one more time, I'll be really convinced.
No, until January the 1st, he's a KTM rider through and through. I think he's doing something at the event.
Do you think KTM will have a big heartfelt goodbye on December 31st?
Yeah, they should do. Well, they did one for Tom, so why not? They even did one for Chase.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they're doing one for Chase, then they're doing one for Jeffrey.
That's the American side, though, no?
No, I think the Tom one was all round, wasn't it?
All right. Well, Paris this weekend. Tune into that. World Supercross this weekend. Check that out as well. It's going to be an interesting couple of days this weekend to kind of follow along with it all. I guess like time zone wise, it's going to be like everyone tune into Paris and then jump over and watch WSX. So
yeah, they should should be like back to back, shouldn't they? Like the Paris main event should finish, and then an hour later, Vancouver starts. I'd imagine.
Like even practice though, because I think, like Paris obviously. Vancouver. I'm pretty sure Paris usually ends like around 1 or 2 p.m. here on the West Coast, and that's about when Vancouver practice will start. So there you go.
Catch the fever.
Catch the fever. We'll see Lewis there? ?
No one knows. Do you reckon this podcast has A, helped my chances of going to Vancouver, or B, hurt them?
I think you might get a call from Pernard. You'll be in Paris this weekend instead.
I'll go. I'll go to Paris. Yeah, I want to go to Paris. I'm annoyed I'm not going to Paris. Love Vancouver if I'm going there. No one knows.
Yeah. All right, well, this has been our show. A big shout out to Leatt, Namura, Partzilla, and Racetech for backing the show. A lot of WSX talk, and I'm sure more of that will be had next week when we recap what just happened this upcoming weekend. But thanks, Big Lou, for joining us to give us all your observations.
No worries, Kellen. I'm just putting in the effort for LVK, you know? While you're enjoying your weekends off, I'm out there, nose to the ground, ears to the ground.
Grinding, just trying to find yourself a white monster in the middle of the night.
Yep, but I did it, and that's why you hold on to your dreams. Never give up.
Yep.
Never give in.
Exactly. Words to live by. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week for more LVK More Than Moto.